7 of the biggest unanswered questions from us. We really like Jordan Peele's Us and have enjoyed delving into the movie's many mysteries, but there's no doubt there are plenty of questions that only Peele himself could answer. Talking to Digital Spy, the writer/director admitted that, like with his first movie Get Out, there is a greater video, all the hidden messages you missed at the end of Jordan Peele's new movie Us Insider. Major spoilers ahead. One such tunnel runs under the Santa Cruz boardwalk, where the tethered have been since they were created. Who created them? The only problem was that it was the people on the surface that controlled the tethered's actions, and not the other way around. So but was the experiment centered on Santa Cruz, or is the tunnel fact at the beginning of the movie meant to imply it took place across the USA? Did Abraham Gabe's tethered doppelganger already exist somewhere else and then just found Red when Adelaide married Gabe? Or did Abraham, Red's initial speech to Adelaide about the girl and her shadow outlined that anything Adelaide did, Red had to copy, which is why Red and Abraham had 2 children as well? Presumably, that's a lot of tethered if it is the case. The Wilson family are on their way to Santa Cruz at the start of the movie, so we don't know where they live. Did Red and her Sure, they might have walked through the tunnels, but it would take a lot longer to walk somewhere than to drive there. If the Wilsons live in the movie, the tethered that are mimicking their doubles on the fairground rides just do the body movements and don't physically travel anywhere. Could that be the case? If there's one thing we can all appreciate in Jordan Peele's second feature film after his Oscar-winning Get Out, it's the view. Sure, it explains that Adelaide Nyong'o, Gabe Winston Duke, and their kids, Zora and Jason Shahadi Wright Joseph and Evan Alex travel to Adelaide's beachside childhood home for an idyllic summer getaway in Northern California. Specifically, aside from the days spent in the Santa Cruz, in Los Angeles. The Wilsons family. 3. Why all the rabbits? The tethered's home, for want of a better word, is absolutely overrun with rabbits. We see them lined up. For Peele, the rabbits are there because he's terrified of them, but from a story perspective, they could be there for 2 reasons. 1. The government worked out how to clone people by experimenting on rabbits. 2. They mate rapidly and would therefore be a self-sustaining food source for the tethered. In Red's first how the tethered would be able to survive on raw rabbit meat for decades doesn't quite make sense though. Honestly, but if Jason is able to exert such control over his doppelganger, how is it that no one else, you including the Wilsons' neighbors, seems capable to stopping their doppelgangers from killing them, as the news reports show? It could just be that Jason had, unintentionally, been practicing controlling Pluto when they were together in the closet. Or it could be that, a fan theory that is making the rounds is that Jason is actually Pluto and they also switched places. Some of the basis, but it doesn't quite hold water, as it wouldn't explain why Pluto walks more like a tethered and Jason has such control over the English language. Not to mention our question is more how the tethered staged their breakout during the movie if they were meant to be under the control of their doubles on the surface. The experiment perhaps it's a case of years and decades passing and the connection between the 2 growing weaker. But there's still could it be that Adelaide returning to the Santa Cruz boardwalk woke up the tethered? Well, not, perhaps he just did it on his own back though, and when Red sensed that Adelaide was back, she decided now was the time to lead the uprising. With the final reveal that Adelaide and Red were switched back in 1986, it made sense that the tethered's plan after their uprising was inspired by Hands Across America. Adelaide would have seen, following her death, the tethered are all holding hands across Santa Cruz and potentially beyond, but to what end? Was there an extra? If it's the latter, perhaps they should have kept a few people alive to see it. If we were being picky, however, we'd question where all the red jumpsuits came from, not to mention the single gloves and the gold scissors. The latter might just, but we'd already seen the tethered dressed in different clothes during the flashback scenes, so who knows where the red jumpsuits came from. Us is in cinemas now.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.